Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the top 5 best SMGs in Borderlands 4. Now there are 13 different legendary SMGs in the game. There's been some that have been added post-launch, and I'll be covering the best of the best here with a few honorable mentions. Now funny enough, one of the legendary SMGs actually got removed from the game, the Frangible. If you've seen it, it had seemingly misleading stats and just was weird to work with, but it's no longer in the game. And we also have, I guess, for honorable mentions here, the Mad Lad, which is a Cov licensed part weapon. Unfortunate for us, Cov weapons are a little bit hard to use. And honestly, with how quick this overheats, it's really hard to use. It does lose its cool pretty quickly too, so you can spray it and then let go of it. But you honestly have to have a rhythm down while using it, or just be watching your ammunition there. And the damage it does is not super impressive. This weapon's best utilized on Harlow, especially if you're using her red skill tree, as it can put out a lot of bullets quickly if you needed to use her action skill and use the neutron capture there. Other than that, it's just not that amazing. We also now have the Aching Royal here, which is from the Vault cards. This is an interesting one, which also has the Cov license magazine on it. This weapon has a cool concept, but unfortunately, you have to keep triggering the underbarrel to cool it down. That's the only way you got to use it. So you basically, you fire away and then you use the underbarrel and it'll cool it down a bit. And again, the damage isn't like amazing to make this worth using, especially since it's got an annoying mechanic to it. And in all honesty, the purple weapons you can get for SMGs are among some of the best in the game, especially if you can find a Mali one that's going to give you additional types of elements you can fire away with, because I honestly think the purples are some of the better SMGs. A lot of them are gimmicky in Borderlands 4, unfortunately, but this brings us to our number 5 best SMG. This is a Maliwan one, similar to Borderlands 4. Borderlands 3, part of one of their DLCs, the Plasma Coil. This one will always come with the shock and radiation elements. It has a very high damage per second potential, and it's honestly pretty good until you get to the higher levels of Ultimate Vault Hunter, where it does fall off a bit. The reason it's so good is shock is one of the best damage types in the game, with an entire vault boss being weak to shock, so it's great for farming different types of bosses, and radiation is just good in general for mobbing. Now what makes this weapon so good is it shoots an 8-round burst, so you can actually do some pretty crazy damage, and it has a very low reload speed. So the thing is with this weapon, you're just going to be constantly laying out damage. It does have a slow firing projectile, but it did get recently patched to make sure that it doesn't get slowed down with certain upgrades you can get. So yeah, this one, if you're barrel stuffing, it's going to be pretty good, but the damage, again, not fantastic, but it's good enough. And that 1.4 second reload is pretty crazy. With 1,000 damage per pellet at level 50 here, it's a strong one. And next up, we got the Oh My God. Now, I know a lot of people really like this SMG, and the reason I'm putting it 4th and not higher is some of the other ones are more versatile. This only does shock damage. It can actually hurt yourself while you're using it, and it'll end up draining your shields too. However, this actually does some pretty crazy damage, and it's great on Vex builds, especially if you can get over shields on it, because it's going to do some pretty good, respectable damage here. It's not very effective against this certain boss that we're going against, because shock damage is not very strong against it, but against other types of enemies, it is a really good type of damage. Be mindful of this, though, because if you shoot it at the ground, it actually will do a bit of splash damage onto your character, so yeah, you got to be mindful of that. And you can see here it's doing a bit more damage to the red health bar. But yeah, it's a pretty solid weapon overall. Best against like the Origo Vault boss because of the shock damage that it deals. But it fires a beam, and the beam's nice that it doesn't really, it's easy to land your shots. And honestly, I really like running this with the Teen Witch class mod, because on top of that, it's going to give you overshield, which will sustain this gun, because your damage is basically just giving yourself more overshield. And then if you have a Watts for Dinner, certain ones with the Siphon are really good here, because they'll give you even further shock damage. So yeah, this is honestly quite strong. And yeah, it can end up not consuming ammunition at all, which is also quite nice. If you got any shield that drops the energy here, yeah, you can fire this infinitely. And in 3rd place, we have one of the most versatile weapons here with Burt's Bees. You can get a variety of different rolls on this. I am lucky to have the Jacob's license one here. And what's great about this is it'll automatically aim it on targets near where you're aiming, so it's a little bit more forgiving. I also got a taser underbarrel, which can go crazy on certain builds. And honestly, it's one of the most SMG feeling SMGs in Borderlands 4. This one here is with the taser underbarrel here, so you can just go ahead and blast away with that. This is pretty respectable damage, but it's the Jacob's part and the homing in bullets that are just great about that. So you can see if you're able to get critical hits off, this can be pretty nuts, because it's going to chain around to multiple different enemies there. And this is great because those bullets are just going to be homing in. So great for mobbing, great for bossing. It's not the strongest weapon on here, but it can be a fun one, especially if you're using a particular setup that's going to give you infinite ammo with Vex builds or Roth or even Harlow. They all have great builds for this. Because it has a fast fire rate, it shoots in, homes in, you're not missing your shots, kind of similar to the Stray sniper rifle. And it's a pretty fun one to use. It also can roll with any type of elemental damage on it. except for, actually you can run with any of them, so pretty solid if you got a particular build in mind that you want to run, and a ton of different underbarrels you can get. Now you can farm yourself a Burt's Bees from the Idolator's Noose in the Fade Fields. The only big downside to this is it has a lot of different roles, so if you've got something in mind that you want in particular, it may be grinding out for a while. Like this one's got zip rockets, Jacobs, and a cup part. So yeah, there's tons of different roles that you can get on this weapon, making it a little bit difficult to grind, because somewhat similar to like the bod shotgun. Now another thing, you can get Jacobs or the Torg stickies on this alongside a Jacobs underbarrel, or you can also get an underbarrel on top of it. So there's like 3 roles that are optimal you can get on this. It's a pain to farm. I'm just going to make that very clear. So yeah, if you want the Jacobs with the Torg stickies in the flamethrower underbarrel, which is kind of a solid role, it will take you quite a bit of time to grind, but it's a fun weapon. So just sucks to farm it from Sludge Maw. And this is where you're going to farm that from. So yeah, Sludge Maw in the Idolator's Noose. Now in second place, we have another weapon that's returning from Borderlands 3 with Chaos. And this always comes with the Torg License Sticky Magazine like it did in Borderlands 3, which is really good, obviously. The bod is the best weapon in the game because of this, and this is a similar experience, despite being a little bit less damage overall than the bod. However, my thoughts are that this weapon's actually going to age really well because the bod will likely end up getting some form of nerf, and I could see it happening at some point because the bod is really strong. So this one, it's because the bod has all the stacking of gun damage that you can get. But you can see here, the health is starting to chip away, and you can destroy any boss's health bar with this weapon with some infinite ammo. So Harlow, Rafa, and Vex are all great users of the Chaosin, and it's got the bullets that scale up in damage, which makes it so good. You want to get the one that's going to give you at least 4% there on your for each pellet. So every time that you shoot another one, it's going to be scaling up your damage, which is pretty crazy. You can also get this one here with the tracker grenade, so it's automatically going to lock on and fire all those at the enemy, so you can just focus on, if you're playing Vex, shooting your beams out, and if you're playing as Harlow or Rafa, you just literally have to use your ability and go to town. And if you want to farm yourself one, you're going to go to the Ark of Origo here, which is the place of farming the Vault Boss, which is a little bit more challenging, but bring a shock-based weapon like the Oh My God or a lightning version of the Burt's Bees, and you'll have a good time. Now, after its recent buffs, our #1 best weapon in the game is the Darkbeast. This has so many crazy rolls. It's going to normally come with a corrosive version of this, which is, it's good, but you can get Jacobs, you can get Maliwan, you can get Daedalus. I really like this setup here with the shotgun, which it shoot out more bullets, which it got a recent buff, which changed it from a 5% chance when you hit an enemy of exploding that deals around 3,500 damage. It now has a 20% chance, so 4 times more likely, which greatly boosted the damage of this weapon. And it'll automatically pierce, so despite high caliber being one of the best firmware, it naturally has it in, making it a lot easier for players that want to, get a very powerful weapon and not have to invest in the annoyance of getting so many firmware. There's also things like Deadeye, which will stack really well, because then you can run 3 points of this, getting insane amounts of crit damage. And when you get crits, you're going to be chaining those around. And the crazy part about piercing with crits is that when you hit a target for a crit, you pierce through, but you also chain off the Jacobs extra bullets. And whenever you shoot a shotgun version of it, you're hitting a lot of enemies quickly. It's also a Daedalus weapon that functions somewhat like a doll weapon, where it's a burst fire gun, and it's crazy. So yeah, you can see the damage from this is pretty nuts. So basically, if you're getting headshots off, it's going to be piercing around and critting around multiple enemies. So absolutely absurd levels of damage that you can get out of this thing. And it's great against Bloom Reaper the Invincible. This is actually where it's best utilized, because you can break the crystals almost immediately. And you can see here how quickly it will clear through Ultimate Vault Hunter 6, Bloom Reaper the Invincible, because those piercing bullets can hit multiple crystals at a time, and since they explode, they're good against vile crystals. This is also, as you saw, good against really any boss in the game, so a very powerful setup. And here's the roll I was talking about actually earlier. The shotgun ammunition on this is crazy. I also want to show off some other rolls that I think are awesome, because you can get this to roll with any Maliwan type. Cryo's nice, but I also like a radiation one. I have one here, but it's hard to get both rolls in the Jacobs and the Maliwan, but when you do, it's a magical thing. This also can have higher damage on the parlay there. We also have this one here. It's got a Ripper part, which makes it shoot actually pretty fast, which is nice, because this one can also get the Daedalus parts on it. I also have this one here with Shock, which can be actually one of the best shock weapons in the game. Yeah, the shotgun one is just so good. And here's what the shotgun one looks like. Oh, we can explode ourselves. Yeah, you... The damage from it's insane, so you can literally just melt everyone. That's not the best way to showcase it, but you get the idea there. We got the kill. And here it is again in real time. You can see how fast it is, just going right for the head there. insane how fast we're killing this boss in Ultimate Vault Hunter 6. It's actually pretty nuts. So, yeah, with Rafa, I think this is where it's best utilized, especially with the Bullet Buddy Deluxe, because this thing will chew through its ammo quickly, especially if it's on the shotgun version, but you can see there, it's honestly crazy. And with the number of rolls you can get, it's pretty funny. You can do some nuts, pretty crazy damage there with cryo, and the explosions on that is kind of nice because it's actually, with the piercing, it hits a lot of targets really quickly and easily. But yeah, the damage from this thing is absolutely nuts, and that's why I think it's one of the best weapons in the game and the best SMG in the game. I actually think this is probably the second best weapon just behind the bod. The reason it's so good is that piercing for free, so you can focus on other types of firmware. It's able to explode, dealing with vile crystals, and it kind of does it all. You can get any type of element on it. You got the Jacobs parts. It's a crazy good weapon. And to farm one for yourself, you're going to come over to the bottom left-hand section of the map. You're going to go into Timid Kyle's Neglected Opening, and there you can find the Quake Thresher. So let me know your favorite SMG in Borderlands 4 in the comments, and subscribe for future Borderlands content. We'll be getting an update on the next DLC pack at some point next week. I'm really excited for that, so stay tuned for that. I'll be covering Cash whenever he drops and everything else related to that. So yeah, hit the subscribe button below. We'll catch y'all in the next video.